The invitation arrived on a quiet morning. It sat on my desk, simple, but impossible to ignore. The gold lettering shimmered under the sunlight pouring through the glass walls of my penthouse. The Sullivan family reunion. I stared at it for a long moment, then let out a slow breath. 15 years. 15 years of silence, of pretending, of letting them believe a story that was never true. And now, everything was about to change. Not because I wanted it to, because I had no choice anymore. My phone buzzed softly beside me. I picked it up, already knowing what I would see. The headline was everywhere. Forbes, the new face of digital art. Below it, my name, Safia Sullivan. And under that, the number that would destroy every lie I had carefully built. $3.8 billion. I smiled faintly, but there was no joy in it, because I knew what would happen next. They would find out. All of them. My family, who thought I was still struggling. Still lost. Still trying to figure life out. A soft voice came through the intercom. "Miss Sullivan, your brother is calling again." Of course he was. Marcus never gave up that easily. I closed my eyes for a second, then pressed the button. Put him through. The line clicked. And then, his voice exploded through the silence. "What the hell is going on, Safia?" No greeting. No warmth. Just anger. Confusion. I leaned back in my chair, controlled. "Good morning to you too, Marcus." "Don't do that," he snapped. "I just got a call from a reporter asking about my billionaire sister." "Care to explain?" I turned my chair slowly, looking out at the skyline stretching endlessly before me. For a moment, I said nothing. Then quietly, "You'll have to read the article like everyone else." Silence. Then, "Stop playing games." His voice hardened. "All these years you let us believe you were barely surviving." I let out a soft laugh. "Is that what you believed? What else were we supposed to think?" I sat forward now, my tone sharper. "Oh, I don't know, maybe the constant lectures about getting a real job didn't help. That was different. We were trying to help you." "No," I cut in, my voice steady. "You were trying to control me." The line went quiet. I could almost picture him, standing there, struggling to respond. Marcus had always been perfect. The obedient son. Business school. Corporate job. Following every step our father had planned for him. "Just tell me one thing," he finally said. "How long?" I stood up slowly, walking toward the window. Far below, the city moved like it always did. Busy. Loud. Alive. "Do you remember when I moved to that tiny apartment?" I asked. "The one in Brooklyn?" "Yeah, when you started that digital art thing." I smiled faintly. "That was 15 years ago." A pause. Then his voice quieter now. "Don't tell me." "I sold my first collection that year," I said. $50,000. Silence. "And 6 months later, 200,000. Another pause. "By the time you were all laughing at me during Christmas dinner." I let the words hang for a second. I had already made my first million. I heard him breathe in sharply. "But that doesn't make sense," he said quickly. "You were still asking Mom and Dad for help." I shook my head. "No, Marcus. I wasn't asking for help." I turned away from the window. I was asking them to invest. And they refused. Every time. Loudly. Confidently. "They said it was a waste," I continued. "A phase. A mistake." "And the car?" he asked. "That old Honda?" "My choice." "The apartment?" "Also my choice." I walked back to my desk, running my fingers lightly across its polished surface. "I wanted to see something," I said quietly. "What?" "How far you'd all go, believing I was a failure." There was no response this time. Only silence. Heavy, uncomfortable silence. Finally, "How rich are you?" he asked. Straight to the point. I smiled. "The article says 3.8 billion. And the truth? Closer to 5. The sound he made wasn't a word. Just shock. Pure shock. I picked up a file from my desk, flipping it open casually. "I have a meeting to attend," I said. "Safia, wait." "And Marcus." I paused. "I'll see you at the reunion." This time, my smile was real. "I'm planning something special." I ended the call before he could say another word. The silence in the room returned. But it felt different now. Heavier. Colder. I pressed the intercom again. "Is everything ready?" "Yes, Miss Sullivan," Sarah replied instantly. "The jet is prepared. Transportation has been arranged. And the location has been updated as you requested." "Good." I picked up the invitation again, holding it between my fingers. For years, I had played a role. The struggling artist. The disappointment. The one who never made it. I let them believe it. Every comment. Every look. Every quiet moment of pity. I accepted it all. But not anymore. This time, things would be different. Very different. I placed the invitation back on the table, slowly. And for the first time in 15 years. The next morning, everything changed. Exactly at 6 a.m., the article went live. I was already awake, sitting in my office, coffee in hand, watching the world react in real time. Multiple screens glowed in front of me. News sites, social media, financial dashboards. Everywhere the same name, Safia Sullivan. And the same story, the billionaire no one saw coming. I leaned back slightly, letting it sink in. 15 years of silence ended in a single headline. My phone didn't just buzz. It exploded. Notifications poured in faster than I could read them. Calls, messages, emails. But one thing caught my attention first. The family group chat. Of course. Olivia, this has to be fake, right? Marcus, I told you yesterday something was off. Mom, Safia, please answer your phone. Dad, this is a misunderstanding. I stared at the screen for a moment, then muted the chat. Not yet. They had waited 15 years. They could wait a little longer. I opened my emails instead. Hundreds of requests. Interviews. Partnerships. Invitations. Everyone suddenly wanted access. Everyone suddenly believed in me. Funny how that works. Then one email made me pause. From Albert Chin, my father's business associate. 3 years ago, I had walked into his office, full of ideas, full of confidence, and he had shown me the door, politely but firmly. Now his message read, we should explore potential collaboration opportunities. I couldn't help but smile. Now, I was worth talking to. A soft buzz came from the intercom. Miss Sullivan, your mother is here. I froze for half a second. She's in the lobby. She's insistent. Of course she was. I walked to the security screen and looked. There she stood, perfect as always. Elegant, controlled. But her eyes gave everything away. Confusion, panic, maybe even regret. I sighed quietly. Let her up. A few moments later, the elevator doors opened. She stepped inside my penthouse and stopped, completely still. Her eyes moved slowly across the room. The space, the view, the art, every detail she had never seen before. Safia, she whispered. Her voice felt smaller than I remembered. What is all this? I walked toward her calmly. This is my home. I paused. My real home. She turned to me slowly. How long? 15 years. Her breath caught. But we saw you struggling. No, I said gently. You saw what you wanted to see. She shook her head, trying to understand. The apartment, the car, all part of the story. Story. Her voice raised slightly. You lied to us. I met her eyes directly. I stayed quiet. There's a difference. She sank into a chair, her composure slipping for the first time. Why? She asked softly. I walked to the window, looking out at the city. Do you remember that night? The dinner, when Dad said my work meant nothing? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. That was the moment, I continued. The moment I realized I was on my own. I turned back toward her. I had already started building something. Something real. But none of you cared enough to look. Her hands trembled slightly. We thought. I know what you thought, I interrupted calmly. You thought I failed. Silence filled the room. Heavy, uncomfortable silence. Then I walked to my desk and picked up a file. I want to show you something. I handed it to her. She opened it slowly. Her eyes moved across the pages, then widened. What is this? The opportunity one brought to Dad. 3 years ago. Her hands shook more now. If he had invested, I continued quietly, that 1 million would be worth around 100 million today. She looked up at me. He said, you wanted money because you were struggling. I gave a small, bitter smile. And you believed him. She couldn't respond. Not this time. I walked back to the window. The reunion is in 2 days, I said. I've made some changes. She looked up again, confused. What kind of changes? I turned slowly. The venue is no longer public. I paused. It's private now. Private? My island. Her face went pale. You have an island? In the Caribbean, I said simply. I bought it last year. She stared at me, speechless. And this time, I added, my voice firm, I won't be sitting quietly while everyone talks. This time, I'll be the one speaking. She stood up slowly, still trying to process everything. Your father, she began. When he sees this. I nodded. He'll finally understand. Not just what I built, but what he failed to see. I walked her to the elevator. She stepped inside, still in shock. But before the doors closed, I spoke again. "Oh, and Mom." She looked at me one last time. "That car you always wanted? The one Dad said was too expensive?" I smiled slightly. "I bought 3 last month." The doors closed. And just like that, she was gone. I stood there for a moment, alone again. Then I turned back to the room. "Sarah," I said through the intercom. "Yes, Miss Sullivan." "Is everything ready?" "Yes. Every detail." "Good." I picked up my phone and finally replied to the family chat. Just one message. "Looking forward to seeing you all at the reunion." Pause. "Dress appropriately." Another pause. "It's going to be unforgettable." I sent it, then placed the phone down slowly. The game had begun. And this time, I was in control. The day of the reunion arrived bright, calm, almost too peaceful. But beneath that calm, something big was about to happen. I stood on the private airstrip, the wind moving softly through my hair, as 3 luxury cars approached in perfect formation. They were here. My family. 15 years of assumptions about to collide with the truth. The cars came to a smooth stop. Doors opened. First my father stepped out. Confident as always. But not quite the same. There was something different in his eyes. Uncertainty. Behind him my mother. Quiet. Still shaken. Then Marcus. Olivia. And the rest of the family followed. All of them looking around confused, overwhelmed, curious. And then they saw it. My jet. Massive. Sleek. My company name written across its body in bold, elegant letters. Silence fell instantly. "Welcome," I said calmly, stepping forward. "My dear family." No one spoke at first. They were too busy trying to understand what they were looking at. Finally, my father cleared his throat. "This isn't necessary," he said, trying to sound firm. "We could have had a simple reunion." I smiled slightly. "Simple doesn't suit this moment, Dad." I gestured toward the jet. "Come. We have a flight to catch." The journey was quiet. Too quiet. They sat inside, surrounded by luxury they had never imagined. Their eyes moved constantly, taking everything in. The leather seats. The rare artwork. The service. The silence between them said more than words ever could. "Is that original?" one of my aunts whispered, staring at a painting. "Yes," I replied simply. "I bought it last year." My father tried again. "Safia, we need to talk." I didn't even look at him. "We will," I said calmly. "After we land." 2 hours later, the island came into view. A stretch of paradise, surrounded by endless blue ocean. As the jet descended, they leaned toward the windows. And then they saw it. My name, painted across the landing area, large enough to be seen from the sky. No one said a word. But I could feel it. The realization. The weight of everything. We landed smoothly. As the doors opened, warm air rushed in. "Welcome," I said, stepping out first. "To my island." Marcus let out a quiet breath. "This is insane." I walked ahead, leading them toward the resort. "Your rooms are ready," I said. "There's something waiting for each of you inside." They didn't know it yet, but that was where everything would begin to break. An hour later, they gathered in the main dining hall. The room was breathtaking. Glass walls. Ocean views. Luxury in every detail. But that wasn't what caught their attention. It was the walls. Framed everywhere. The Forbes article. My face. My name. My success. They had no escape from it now. "Please sit," I said, taking my place at the head of the table. They obeyed quietly. For the first time, no one tried to lead. No one tried to control the room. Except me. My father spoke first. "We're surprised." I let out a soft laugh. "Surprised? That's the word you choose?" My mother spoke gently. "We didn't know." I leaned forward slightly. "You didn't want to know." Silence. "Every time I tried to tell you about my work, you ignored it. Every time I offered something real, you dismissed it." Olivia shifted uncomfortably. "But the way you lived, we thought. You thought I was nothing," I finished for her. She looked down. I pressed a button. The lights dimmed. Screens lit up around the room. A timeline appeared. Year by year. Their words, next to my success. 2008, this isn't real work. My first $50,000 sale. 2010, get a real job. Company reaches $10 million. 2015, at least I can help you. My net worth crosses $500 million. Each line hit harder than the last. I stood slowly. "I remember everything," I said quietly. "Every word." My father's voice broke slightly. Why didn't you tell us? I looked at him directly. Because you needed to learn something. I took a step forward. Success doesn't look the same for everyone. Just because you don't understand something doesn't make it worthless. The room was completely silent now. No arguments. No pride. Just truth. Raw and undeniable. I exhaled slowly. This, I gestured around me. It's not just money. It's vision. The same vision you all ignored. I paused, letting that sink in. Now, I continued calmer. We move forward. Marcus looked up. What happens now? I picked up my glass. Now we eat. A small smile appeared on my face. As a real family. No lies. No assumptions. Just truth. Slowly, they lifted their glasses too. Still unsure. Still processing. But different. Something had changed. That night, after everything quieted down, I stood alone looking out at the ocean. The waves moved gently under the moonlight. Peaceful. Finally peaceful. Was it worth it? Sarah's voice came from behind me. I thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes. Not because I proved them wrong, but because I was finally free. Free to be seen. Free to be myself. The next morning, things felt different. They looked at me differently. Not with pity. Not with doubt. But with respect. And maybe pride. I smiled slightly. Because in the end, success isn't about showing the world who you are. It's about knowing it, even when no one else does.